Right, so hey everyone and welcome back to another budget photography video. So our phones get more cameras and better cameras each year. I mean, this is 108 megapixels with 8K video recording, but that's not what we're here for. Today we're here to talk about, well, one of these, but not specifically this lens, more specifically the lens from this phone. This is a Microsoft Windows phone, and how are they the same as kind of this, but how are they different? So why don't we find out by tearing this lens down. So I've got some screwdrivers here. I'm not really sure of, I know this one here is a T6. I'm not really sure of this one because it doesn't really say, but this one fits better. I'm going to guess like a T5 maybe. And we're just going to, I'm going to move this up a bit more. That's the wrong lever. Zoom out a bit, just so I've got more in frame. And we're just going to start just, unscrewing this back plastic protector. Now this phone is a few years old, so camera technology has improved, but the basics should be pretty much the same, really. And that little hand gesture wasn't really for you, that was just for me, making sure that I'm still in frame. And I'm just throwing the screws around because I don't care about them. I'll clean this desk later on, so I'm not really that bothered about where the screws go, because this isn't going to go back together, it'll just go in the bin. It's only about 15–20 pounds. From like second-hand shops and stuff like that. You can pick these up even cheaper actually on like Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree, Shpock, stuff like that. So let's see if we can now, there we go, just pull that apart. Can you guys see that? Just want to make sure, there we go. So there we go. So there is the motherboard. Let's bring that focus in. So that's the motherboard. And then, as you can obviously see, we've got the camera unit, tiny camera unit just here. Just there. I'm going to switch autofocus back on, just because it will be easier for me to work with. So, there's the little camera unit there that we're after. Absolutely tiny. Come on. Absolutely. Let's move that away because that doesn't want to focus, so that's fine. So it does appear to actually be kind of wired underneath the motherboard here. That's still out of focus. See, this is why I don't really like autofocus. It does appear to be still, wired up underneath the motherboard, which is obviously then connected to the daughter board and the charging port. And anyway, that's just me being a phone geek. So we need to remove the motherboard next from the looks of things, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to lock focus. So I'm just going to lock that there. So if this does go out of focus, I'm sorry, but the noise of the focusing motor on this lens is absolutely horrible. Get rid of that one. All the screws I can see. We will remove. And I must say, these screws are absolutely tiny. I mean, let's bring into focus that. And look at that. That screw is absolutely minute. Absolutely tiny. So we don't appear to have any more screws, so I think we'll just start undoing wires. This obviously hasn't got its battery plugged in. The battery is here, so it shouldn't, unless I hit a capacitor of some sort, it shouldn't start sparking or cause any real damage. Getting some signal wires out. And the selfie camera, just have a look at that. Wrong way. So we've got the little, I think it's like a 2 megapixel selfie camera. It's like a pinhole, it's absolutely minute, especially in comparison to something like this, the 18-55, or this lens here from Canon, the one that you're looking through, the 24-105. So we don't appear to have any more screws. We've got some signal wiring just here. That's probably for the 3G, 4G or the Wi-Fi. I'm no phone expert, I'm just an idiot that plies apart some phones every now and then for the fun of it. So we've got rid of that wiring. And now we can pull up the motherboard, we'll just rip that out. Phone and the screen can just go to one side. So we've got some heat shielding here. Let's just focus that in. That'll be protecting the screen and the processor to help to dissipate the heat. So that's the whole motherboard, that will hold all the software, probably. Underneath one of these little heat shields will be, let's see if we can peel that off, shall we? Because I do want to access this camera to tear that down as well. I think, there we go. So there is the camera unit itself. Just there, that little white dot in the middle. So I can't actually push it out of the motherboard, so I've kind of started to bend the motherboard quite a bit to try and pry it out of there. And there's the wiring for it. Come on. All I want is your lens. There we go. So, we appear to have some progress, some good progress. So this is the camera unit itself. It's all kind of, you know, self-contained, the lens, the image sensor, that little tiny thing. But we need to go deeper. We need to go deeper into this. Went away to go and see if I could get a light, just so I can see a little bit better. So if that does end up, yeah, that is in the frame. I did want to kind of avoid it in the frame, but it looks like as if we're not going to be able to avoid that, but I can't see because of how little everything just is in this thing. But then again, it is a phone, so everything has to be kind of smaller, on a smaller scale. Ow. Let's try this one. These appear to be little latches that are just holding the sensor and the lens together. And I can't seem to get the final two. I seem to have got two of them, but I can't seem to get any more. So let's, there we go. Pull that apart. So wow, it's even smaller than I thought. So let's get another shot of that. Is the camera unit. That's even smaller than I thought. And there's still more to go. So there's no OIS, but there is some sort of auto-focusing motor going on here. Bingo. So I've got through the lens, and there is the sensor. Let's macro this lens, and then I'm going to need to light this up properly. That is the image sensor itself. That is absolutely tiny. Absolutely tiny. I mean, bearing in mind the sensor that I use quite a lot is this one, the 5D sensor, which is 35mm. So it's quite a big sensor in comparison to this little thing just here. And that's obviously the lens. So let's have a look at the lens. So this is the lens itself. You can see just how small that lens actually is, and that is just nuts. So the main difference between this lens and this lens here is, well, obviously the size of it. They're quite a, it's quite a big size comparison between the two. But it's not only the fact that this one is bigger than this one, it's the fact that what they're made of, I've just dropped that, it's what they're made of. This is made of glass, well, I mean the exterior is made of plastic, but if we look just there, you can see all the glass elements and the back there. And it's the same with this lens here. This is glass. This is expensive glass. That's another word for lens. Glass. What glass have you got on that? Whereas this little thing here is all plastic. High-end plastic. Well, I mean, I don't know how high-end this one is, but for more modern phones, it's very high-end plastic protected by Gorilla Glass. And you can actually see that a little bit better with my Huawei phone. If I bring that into shot now, you can see all the free cameras just here. Now this is one of my old phones. I'm not tearing it down because I still use this phone actually, believe it or not. But you can see we've got the telephoto, we've got the wide angle and the normal 48 megapixel one. But if I now bring this up, you can actually see how big these lenses have gotten over time. I mean, there's the telephoto lens there. Now, if we compare that to the lens on the Windows Phone, these lenses in comparison are absolutely massive. By comparison, these are still obviously smaller than the 18 to 55 or the 24 to 105 or any real more professional lens. They are massive. So this is the Note 20 Ultra, and you can see we've got 3 lenses, same as on the Huawei phone. We've got a telephoto, a standard and a ultra wide just there, but even these are even bigger, so lenses are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, if we compare the primary lens to this one, now yes, okay, they are years and generations apart, but you can see just the size difference between the two and how far optics within phone cameras, that's not a scratch, that's just a... and how far phone optics have actually come in just a few years. I mean, this lens here is 2015, I believe, and this is 2020. So this is a big, big improvement. So the main reason that phone cameras and phone lenses went from this little diddy one here to this massive one just here and that one is because we've got bigger phones now. This, in comparison, if I get the screen to my Note 20 Ultra, look at the size comparison. Just kind of minute in a way. I mean, even to the P30, I mean, that hasn't got its back, hasn't got its circuit board, hasn't got its battery, so it is thicker than the P30. I mean, then again, this one also hasn't got its back. Because phone cameras in general are getting better and better, people want better technology in these 3 lenses here. And really, AI can only do so much. It can only give you so much fake depth of field before you need to give it real depth of field, like what this camera does. So we need bigger lenses, we need bigger sensors. The bigger the sensor, the better the depth of field. The better the depth of field, the nicer stuff like portrait mode is going to look. And it means we can have a lower f-stop aperture on the lens, but it does mean better low light capabilities, which these phones nowadays are absolutely epic at low light. Anyway guys, thanks for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.